don't know what I can tell you about our speaker that we don't already know.
Oh, that's a relief.
Because we pretty much know it all. So without further ado, please help me welcome Reverend Cheryl.
My assistants, not Vanna, but Vance, is going to get this up here. Beautiful, thank you. Yay! So how many of you here have actually walked a labyrinth? Okay, just a few that haven't, and so that's exciting because I love introducing labyrinths to people. And if you don't know much about it, I hope by the end of today you'll have a better sense of what labyrinths are. So what is it? It is a single path that goes to the center. And there are many turns on it. Let's see, yes. This is a labyrinth design. It has 7 different circuits to the center. And they have found this design on coins in Crete, in the Greek Isles, from about 2000 BCE. So labyrinths are found all over the world. They're found over doorways. They are found on statues. They are found on beaches up in Scandinavia. And like I said, on coins. And then this one kind of was developed back in the medieval times. So this is one that is on the floor of Chartres Cathedral in France. And it has 11 circuits to the center. It's much more complicated, as you can see. And labyrinths have gone in and out of style. In the churches, back in the 1800s, they started taking labyrinths out of churches a lot because they thought, well, that can't be really Christ-centered. But as I said yesterday at the labyrinth dedication, where's Jesus on this walk? Right with you. Walking right with you. Anyway, so some of us got to actually go and stand at the center of this labyrinth. It's huge on the floor in this beautiful cathedral. They put chairs over it. Except one day a week, they'll take the chairs off. They didn't happen to take the chairs off the day we were there. But we could go stand in the center. And the energy of people walking that path and standing in the center for hundreds of years. The more a labyrinth is walked, the more energy it holds. I'm thinking of medicine wheels, too. They're much like that. Much like that. No, there's another one here. It's all right. No, we'll go with it. So, you got to help then, but that's So this labyrinth is an archetypal pattern. What does that mean, archetypes? Ever existing. In our consciousness, right? In everybody's human consciousness is this idea of the circle with the winding path. And it just shows up in so many ways. When was the first time that I encountered a labyrinth? There was a wonderful newspaper article about our dedication on Thursday, but it got one thing not quite right. Babs Rankin, whose bench we were dedicating, was not the first person that introduced me to the labyrinth. It was 1995. I was still a Presbyterian minister, and I was at a Presbyterian women's event, and we were doing different things all day long, and one of the things that we were invited to do was to walk a labyrinth. Reverend Jim had created one on a huge tarp, and I think he maybe just used magic marker to do the line. And there were probably 30 or so of us that were invited to walk this labyrinth. I'd never seen one ever in my life. And he said, the idea is that you walk the path and it will take you to the center. And then you can stay in the center as long as you want, and then you walk back out again. So I started, and thought, well, that is so easy. And the next thing I knew, I was that close to the center. And I took a turn and I was on the outer edge. What happened? All right. Has that ever happened in your life? Mm-hmm. And I also noticed as I was walking that there were some people that I would walk beside them for a while. They'd be on one path and I'd be on another, and I'd walk beside them for a while, and then all of a sudden we'd each go off in a different direction. Has that ever happened to you? The friends that were friends, and then all of a sudden we go a different way. There were also some that I kept meeting at the turns, and we just kept greeting each other. Hey, hi. And then when you're starting to walk out, that happens a lot, because some people are walking back on the path and some people are still walking forward. So I just couldn't believe all of the metaphors that kept coming to my mind, and I loved it. I was so intrigued. It took me a few years, plus leaving my Presbyterian church in Natchez, before I really got into labyrinths again. But I decided in 2002 that I wanted to become a labyrinth facilitator, which meant that I could help people to understand the labyrinth and lead them through this. And so I did facilitator training in 2002. So the labyrinth is an archetype, and it is a mirror to our own lives, because it shows us things about ourselves if we're willing to see it. I was going to bring this little brochure that I got from Babs Rankin yesterday, and I left it at home, so that tells me that I don't need to give it as much time today as I thought I would. Luckily, it's just a turn on the path, and I'm still headed towards the center. But in that little brochure, which I'll bring next week, she has something that's wonderful. She has reasons to walk the labyrinth, and she has A to Z. She was so creative, she could think of the whole alphabet of reasons to walk a labyrinth. And you know that every time you go on a labyrinth, it may be different. In fact, I can almost guarantee that it will be different. So we don't need to go with an expectation that it's going to be a certain way, you know? Sometimes I've gone and I've wanted to skip the whole way. Sometimes I've gone in and I've wanted to cry. Sometimes I've gone in just seeking some guidance. And it doesn't always come right at that moment. But what I usually find is that I find a peace. It is in walking, St. Augustine said, that it is solved. You ever go for walks just to get stuff out of your system? I love walks. And that's all this is. It's like taking a walk in a container. So I want to show you now a video that comes from Unity Village. And it is about, I guess we're going to have to, that's all right. I think I can get it. All right. So it's almost 6 minutes, but I think you're going to enjoy it. They have built a new labyrinth at Unity Village, which is the center and the educational center of Unity. And it's back in Lee's Summit, Missouri, which is just about 15 miles southeast of Kansas City. And here we go. Can we turn the lights off? Yeah.
Greetings, friends. I'm Jim Blake. When I became CEO in 2016, I had a long-held vision of a new, beautiful labyrinth. When the opportunity came, I spent about 18 months researching the right partner to help us build it. I finally found Marty Kermeen, an artisan who specializes in labyrinths. For years, he had been creating beautiful stone labyrinths that are low maintenance but last for generations. By the time he was done here, Unity had the largest paver labyrinth in North America. My hope is that it will serve generations of seekers in finding their own access to divine wisdom and guidance within. I'll let Marty and Debbie Kermeen tell you the rest of the story.
My name is Debbie Kermeen, and I am co-creator of Labyrinths in Stone with my husband, Marty Kermeen.
Hi, I'm Marty Kermeen, and I design most of the labyrinths and do a lot of work putting in pavers and creating interactive art around the country. What we excel at is taking in the input from the person who's commissioning the project. What is their desires, what is their needs, what fits their situation, and trying to custom design a labyrinth that fits that need. We've done, like in this one, we made it huge, and there was a reason for that. The reason it's so large, 5 times the size of the one in the cathedral in Chartres, France, square footage wise. The reason for that is you already had a very large one that you're accustomed to that sits out there in the parking lot. If we'd have put a small one in, we would go, where's the rest of our labyrinth? You have huge groups that come here that need to be accommodated that a smaller labyrinth might not fit. And you have some very specific architecture here. Not only is it large, which fits the large labyrinth, it has arches, which I tried diligently to accentuate by taking the lines of the labyrinth and wrapping them around the U-turns. In the area between the U-turns, I made little tiny bricks that are reminiscent of the clay tiles on the roof of all of the structures here.
The one here at Unity, so important to us for so many reasons, because of what Unity represents, because of Myrtle and Charles Fillmore, their belief system, and the labyrinth fits so well here.
The question we get asked most often is how many bricks are in it? And that's a very difficult question because I don't know which bricks you're supposed to count, because there's some pieces out there I've cut that are 1/4 inch by 3/8 of an inch. And I don't know if you consider that an entire brick. Do we count that one or do we not count that one? So it's a difficult question to answer. I generally tell people there's approximately 5 bricks per foot, which is a really random sort of vague number to apply to it. But let's say it's 5 bricks a foot. This one has 7,100 square feet inside of it. So the quantity of bricks is kind of an unknown thing. One thing I do know is we could not fit it all on 6 semis. We had to hire the 7th semi to bring all the material here.
Yes, and he laid every single one of those bricks.
This is by far the largest labyrinth we've made. If you walk from the starting point and you walk to the very center of the labyrinth and back out, you are literally at 3/4 of a mile. The labyrinth that we've created here is inspired by the one in the cathedral in Chartres, France. But we've left out the very intricate center that they call the Rosette Center. So it is loosely inspired, meaning the sequence that you walk what path is the same as the one in the cathedral in France and the one that's been in the parking lot here, but it's its own labyrinth. I think it would be appropriate to call it the Unity Labyrinth. When I was looking in the archives, I was invited up there to look around and be inspired. I saw one of the, from 1896 or something, I'm not sure of the date, one of the first booklets that the Fillmores put out. Charles had put a version of a winged globe on there, and I thought, wow, there's the circle that I intend to put, but it's just got wings attached to it. And I even brought a blue stone to put there, which is very reminiscent of our blue planet. And I just thought it was a perfect thing. Right now is the biggest revival in Labyrinth history, and it seems to be sparked by the enthusiasm in America. And Debbie and I feel just so incredibly blessed to be a part of that and to have made, I think we're to 75 permanent labyrinths now that are around the country, and Grand Cayman and Mexico City and Canada. It's an absolute blessing to be a part of something profound in human history.
And there is no accident that Unity's Labyrinth is being made right now at this time in the world. It feels so needed.
In the heart of America. And it's big and bold and beautiful and inviting, and I just think people are going to love it. I hope they do. We had a comment the other day from a gentleman that walked up that was one of my proudest moments. He said, "It's brand new, yet it looks like it's always been here."
Isn't that cool? It's simply another tool for meditation, another way of approaching our center. And so I want to show you, you all got a little purple sheet, right, showing you how to make a labyrinth. And I want to go through that with you. You may never do that, but you just might think it's kind of interesting to see how it kind of unfolds. So, can everybody see? Pretty well. So we start with what is called a seed pattern. And the seed pattern is an equal, a cross with equal sides. Then you want to make a right angled at each of these corners. And of course, I'm not doing it perfectly, but that's okay. It'll still turn out. And then at the center of each of these right angles, you put a dot. Now your pathway is going to be this width, whatever between the center cross and these angles. That's your pathway. So then you begin at the center, top, and you go to the next either line or dot over there. So this time it's a line. Now you can just go like this, but then you don't have much of a center, right? So you can also go you can make it a little circle. So then you go over, so you started here, and now you go over to the next line or dot to the left. And you kind of try to keep that same amount of space. So I've gone from a line to a dot, and you just keep doing that. Isn't that fun? It's just, you just can't, I never could believe that it would really turn out. And it does, if you just follow the seed pattern. And Deborah, I can't believe, Deborah, you made one that had a heart shape up at the top, and you sewed it. Those are so beautiful. I hope I'm not going to, I may run off the page. No mistakes, right? One last one. Oops. Okay. And that's your labyrinth. And so here's where you go in. Now, you could do it the other direction, too. You could start at the top, and instead of going over here, you could go the other way and just do it the other way, and then your entrance would be over here. And some people say that makes a difference whether you do it left or right. I don't know that it really matters to me, but so there is your labyrinth. Easy, right? It's fun. I've done this with a stick out on a beach. Did I do that one time when we had our women's retreat? Yeah, yeah. And it's fun also to do it so that when the tide comes in, it's like a Buddhist painting, you know, sand painting. Yeah, but it disappears with the tide, just like the Buddhists just scratch out all of their beautiful artwork at the end of it. So I encourage you to just kind of experiment with this. Now, I can show you as well how to make a very small one with only 3 paths and how to make one that has 5 paths. And in fact, we have one that I made yesterday out in our parking lot, and I painted it. I mean, this is me out of my comfort zone, painting it with a can of paint in the wind. It was really fun. But it's a 5-circuit one. And at the end of our service, what I want to invite us all to do is we became aware that there is a group here in Yakima that is very afraid of Unity Spiritual Life Center. How do they show their fear? By wanting to do harm to us. And so what we want to do is to meet that fear with love. And what better place to do that than to gather around this labyrinth and just really out there where everybody can see us, hold love for them and for ourselves, for our world, for all of it. And so that's what we're going to do. And, you know, it's kind of funny because last week we also gathered around a hawthorn tree and did the peace song. This week we're going to gather around the labyrinth. I promise we're not going to do this every week. But it is kind of fun to go outside and be visible to our neighborhood. So that's what we're going to plan on doing at the end of our service. So thank you, everybody, for listening to All About the